Dear students, good morning to all of you. Welcome to this virtual class. Last period, we are discussing that human capital formations. What do mean by human capital? And what are the sources of human capital? We have already discussed that different aspects of that human capitals. So far that physical capital and human capital. Human capital creates both private and social benefits. Private and social benefits. It means whenever I was discussing that human capital formations, that time I was discussing the benefits or the key roles of that human capital formations. That is that the concept of human resources, human capital formation and human developments. So education is that key role for that human capital formations, and the link between the investment in human capital, economic growth and economic developments. So beside these educations, we may say that there is that health is also one kind of important factors. And I was discussing about that different economists who have given their views about the importance of the human capital formations. It means a country has that more physical capitals, land, water, forest, etc., etc. But if there is no resources of male, female and children, so the country cannot progress or the country cannot develop. I was discussing the importance for the economic growth of a country, the ownership of the physical capitals, and similarly that Alfred Marshall was that economist, and he has already explained what is the economics, and that is the definition of that welfare definitions. So he also expressed his view about that human capital formation. That is that he has given the view, the wisdom of capital, the wisdom of expenditure, public and private funds on education is not to be measured by its direct fruits alone. It will be profitable as a mere of investments to give the masses of people much greater opportunities than they get generally avail themselves of. For by this means many who would have died unknown are enabled to get start needed for bringing out their latent abilities, that is given by the Alfred Marshall. So whenever we think about the human capital formations, at that time I have already discussed, education is the sort not only as it confers that higher earning of capacity on people, but also for its that higher value of benefits. It means whenever your parents providing that better education to all of you, it does not mean that you will earn that maximum money, that is called that higher earning capacity on people, but also for its higher valued benefits. It gives one a better social standing and pride. It enables one to make that better choice of life. That better choice of life provides that educations. That is possible by the help of the knowledge. That knowledge to understand is the changes of the taking place of the societies. I was listening the news in the evening about that Kattarpanthi, what is happened in that Vienna. That is the very simple events that which countries that is that three countries, they are supporting to the terrorist groups that which is spread out all over the European countries. That is also possible by the help of the training, or that is by the help of the educations. So it means what education will provide, that it gives that one better social standing and pride. It enables us to make that better choice in our life. It provides the knowledge to understand changing the taking place in our societies. This education also provides the stimulations. It creates the innovations. It creates that educated labors. So which way we can improve, or that which way we can take help the accumulations in quite important for our economic growth of economy. The ownership of physical resources, or that physical capitals, outcome that conscious decisions of the owners. So moreover, the availability of the educated labor force to facilitate all kinds of new technology. That is, at present India is adopting the new information technology, IT sectors, which is the most important contributions toward the other countries, that is that by that Indian human resources or the human capital formations. So last period I was discussing the sources of the human capital. That human capital may be that education on expenditure on education, that I have already discussed. It means the proper utility of manpower depends on the system of the education and training of the peoples. So that people will be skilled, the labor skilled persons, they can engage in the different activities in the industrial sector, services sectors, or the agriculture sectors, so that economists have studied the needs of the expanding of the educational opportunities. In this chapter, I will discuss also that how much expenditure is incurred on behalf of the central governments of our GDP, of our total expenditures. So spending on education by individual is similar to spending on capital goods by companies. Individual investment in education to increase their future income and they raise their standard of living. That is why your parents are spending a lot of money for increase your standard of living as well as to increase their incomes. It does not mean that after learning that good educations or after getting that good educations, you will not be that one become of the terrorist. You will not earn that money in the illegal ways. You will not earn that money in that which is not that society will accept. So that kinds of education will provide. So education confers that higher earning capacity of the peoples. Education is provide the better social standing positions, and we should be proud for that, because I have already discussed that whenever there is the Pulwama attack, and to take the revenge of that Pulwama attack, that in Pakistan Balakot, which way the different kinds of missiles attack on that Balakot, and the among them one that resources persons, we may say that Abhinandan, Mr. Abhinandan, who takes the challenge in his own shoulders to attack that Balakot, that is also one best example of our human resource or that human resources capital formations. So that is why we spend our educations lot of money to create the human resources, and we can challenge the different times or different situations to face, which is to growth of our economy or to development of our economy. So it provides us the knowledge to understand that changes in taking place in the societies. It also stimulates the innovations. It facilitates the adoption of the new technology that I have already discussed in the last period in the expenditure on education. And next is that expenditure on health. That is also we have already discussed the preventive measures and curative medicines and social medicines. Because previously people were not awareness about their health. So nowadays, due to the COVID-19 pandemic, people are realizing that what is the health facilities, sanitation facilities, because poor health, undernourishment adversely affect the quality of manpower. It means You know that, dear students, when one student is malnutrition, or he is that or she is the poor health, and when one person is that sound health and good physics, he can use his resources properly, because without access to medical facilities to compel that abstinence from the work, which is the loss of the productivity of our country or of any other persons. That is why we need that expenditure on that health. So I have already said education and health is the most key factors, or which is the backbone for the development of an economy, to growth of an economy, or to growth of an economy. And third period, which is the on the job training, that is that one kinds of skills which provided to become that creativity, innovations, doing the work very smoothly, and adjustment or adopted that new technology or what that country wants the changes to face. So on the job training may take the different forms. Workers may train in the farm itself under the supervision of the skilled workers. So workers may be sent for that off campus training, and workers may be trained on the job training that I have already discussed. Second one is that expenditure on migrations. Dear students, I have already discussed the brain drain in the British colonial systems. So the drainage systems and the brain drain systems, when I was discussing that some people, those who are trained, those who are skilled, they migrate to different places. Why? Because to get that maximum salaries or higher wages. So people migrate from one place to another place in search of jobs that pays them that higher salaries, because they will get that higher salaries, so they will migrate. So many doctors, so many engineers of our country, they have already migrated because they are getting that higher salaries, or they are fetching that higher salaries from the different countries, foreign countries. So that in India, whenever there are so many people are the unemployment, that unemployed people, they migrate from rural areas to urban areas. They migrate from that rural areas to city areas. This is to be called that to get that employment facility in the urban areas or city areas. Rural people, they do not get the job in that particular villages, so they shifted from that one rural areas to urban areas or the city areas. Those who are the technical qualified persons, like I told to all of you, engineering, doctors, chartered accountants, they migrate in other countries because higher salaries that they need, because that foreign countries, they will get that higher salaries to themselves. They motivate to them, you come to our country and we will pay the higher packages, higher salaries. So migration in both these cases involves the two kinds of cost. Whenever a country trains to that any skilled person, any person to be skilled, at that time the country spends that lot of education, lot of expenditures. For example, one student who gets the training, that MBBS course, PhD course, that means the government is spending the lot of money to training of that persons. So if that students will not do that work after completing that educations, that time he goes to that foreign countries to earn that higher incomes or higher packages. So at that time the cost which is spent on that particular students, which is that one kinds of cost of burden for that country. Similarly, when he migrates from one country to another country, there is also some transportations. So cost of transportation from one place to another, that is also most important factors. As well as two costs I told now. One is that higher cost of living that migrate places. Another is that cost of transportation from one place to another place. So expenditure on migration, please note it. Expenditure on migration is a source of human capital formations, as enhanced earnings in the migrated place is more than that increase in the cost of due to migrations. It means the country who provide the education skills, that train to the persons, that is the one kinds of cost. And whenever the person is getting the job in the foreign countries, that time their income is more. That is the increase in cost due to the migrations. It means whenever the countries buy to that skilled persons, that cost is high as that comparison basis of that. So there is the two cost I am discussing. One is that cost of transportation charge, another is that cost of living of migrated places. So these are the expenditures which are done in that migrant education. That is also source of the human capital for, which means the skilled labor, skilled persons, or the doctors or the engineers. If it is not available in our own country, we can migrate from that any other countries. That is that one kinds of expenditure on migrations. And fifth one, that is that expenditure on informations. Expenditure on information. It means the expenditure incurred to acquire that information relating to the labor market and the other markets. Again I repeat, expenditure on information is incurred to acquire the information, to get that information relating to the labor market and other markets. It means it involves amount spent on seeking information about the educational institutions, their education standard, and the cost of educations. For example, people want to know the level of salaries associated with that various types of jobs, whether the educational institution provide the right type of employable skills at what cost. So that I was telling on the day that these institutions, our institutions, provides this training, skills, whatever may be, all over the world. If you will search that with regard to this minimum cost of these institutions, that students are getting that how much benefits or how much they are getting that education, they could not get all over the world with this minimum cost of expenditures. So this is one kind of information. So information is necessary to make the decision regarding the investment in human capital as well as the efficient utilization of the acquired human capital stock. Dear students, why did I say that expenditure on information? Because whenever you want to take that any education, to admit that any education center, at that time you will search that which education is the best for me. That time, what you will look after? That first, about the institutions, about the staffs or the resources, and third about the result, and the fourth is the placements. All these are the most important informations. That is that sources of the information is also one kind of human capital formations. It means where, which IIT is the better, which IIM is the better, which AIMS is the better, that which college is the better, which school is the better. That is the expenditure and informations which incur to acquire the information relating to the labor market and other markets. For examples, after completing the CA, you want to go for the foreign country. Which foreign country will provide that all kinds of facilities with your salaries or the package? That information we need, so that people also spend that lot of money for this also informations. So these are the different kinds of sources of human capitals. The information, that is that expenditure on education, expenditure on health, on the job training, expenditure on migration, and expenditure on informations. These are the 5 sources of human capital formations which I told in that point wise. Number 1, expenditure on education. Number 2, expenditure on health. Number 3, on the job training. Number 4, expenditure on migration. Number 5, expenditure on informations. These are the sources of human capital formations. Now we'll start that human capital and economic growth. Human capital and economic growth.